Yesterday almost after 9 hours, the train was 9 hours late. I reached New Delhi railway station at about 6:30 in the morning, and the train was supposed to start at 7:20, and eventually it started at 11. And when we reached Amritsar, it was about 9 p.m. and then came here. So what happened after reaching here within 1 hour? I was exhausted physically. There was a lot of physical fatigue and tiredness and the boat too. But the moment the car entered here, suddenly, through an invisible force, you get a lot of vibrations. And trust me, I got the vibrations of different figures. Guru Nanak Ji, Gandhi walking in 46, 47, trying to heal the turbulent subcontinent. Mother Teresa, Jesus, lot of love and positivity. And something was happening in my mind that life is definitely not honey-sing music. And life is definitely not a picnic party. Because we all, when we look at ourselves, it is full of pain. Pain, suffering, trauma. We all pass through that. But despite that, what is the religiosity of life? And that religiosity of life is the art of transforming that pain into a song of love and compassion. And I think that is what Avijit is doing. That is the vibration of this prince. So, we had dinner, we knew one another, we talked, and I had a very good, profound sleep. And morning when I began to walk, and then see people, so much pain in the world, lot of difficulties, people are suffering, so many problems are there. But here is a place, in this world, in this violent, ugly world, there is a place where pain has been transformed into a longing for love and compassion, into a practice of love and compassion. And that, I think, is the best thing that has happened. I came here, and that is a thing that I learned, and it will be with me always. Since childhood, in a remote corner in northern part of Bengal, when you read the history of India, history of freedom struggle, heard so much about this prince. Amritsar, Bengal and Punjab, these two states passed through the trauma of partition. The large-scale violence, partition, division, the trauma. Almost every family in some way or other was affected. And heard so much about Amritsar. We came to university, colleges. Amritsar is always in news. And this city passed through a lot of experiences, lot of pain, struggle. But this city is also a city of great possibilities, a city of great love. And this city has made so many people think. Whenever I read Sadat Hasan Manto's partition stories, whenever I look at the syncretic culture that Sikhism has created, the kind of work that Sikhism has done, particularly at the time of COVID, that state of love, compassion, and religiosity beyond identities, beyond divisions, beyond Hindu-Muslim conflict, beyond borders. And that is something, that city. And so this two feeling that coming to Amritsar and then coming to this place and seeing this music of love, that transforming pain into love and compassion. Now I tend to feel that possibly the highest goal of education, the highest goal. Of course, we learn academic, cognitive, technical skills. We learn English grammar, we learn physics, we learn mathematics, we learn different technical skills. We write exams, we get grades, we get gold medals, become toppers, certificates, all that happens. That is only a small part of education. But I think the deeper part, the deeper meaning of education is essentially this with which I began, transforming pain and misery into a song of love and compassion. Education that does not generate love, education that does not generate compassion, it is a futile education. I might have all the degrees of the world, all the gold medals of the world, but from inside, I would be extremely violent, hyper-competitive, envious, and not of inner violence. That education does not take us anywhere. When Hitler was in power, and the world 20th century's worst time, there was a great philosopher called Zygmunt Bauman, social scientist, Polish philosopher. He wrote a beautiful book called Modernity and Holocaust. And he asked this question, why is it that Hitler could succeed in inspiring so many bright engineers, bright scientists, bright technicians, who got good university degrees into this project of genocide and the mass killing? So what kind of education is it? Now, what is my skill for? Do I make a bomb? Do I promote Holocaust? Or is education something, that enables me to generate love, to create a better world, a compassionate world? And I think that remains one of the major questions today, because we are living in a terribly violent world with heightened economic inequality, as Devendraji has talked about, with climate emergency. You just saw the kind of flooding and rain in Dubai, the climate emergency, war, militarism. Imagine children after children dying in Palestine, and the silence of the rich Western capitalist world on these issues. So the violence, hunger, malnutrition, inequality, war, militarism, climate crisis. We live in a world of this kind. If one thing that this world needs most is the practice of healing. Healing is the need of the hour. And education is a key to that practice of healing, that meaningful education. So it is this, I believe, which today, as a nation, we have almost forgotten. Imagine, when the UPSC results come, or the results of the board exams come, everywhere in all towns and cities, in all billboards, you see the pictures of the toppers. A young boy and girl of 16 years, 17 years, transformed into a mythological figure with miraculous performance in physics, mathematics, and biology. Or when the UPSC results come, you see the photographs of the toppers in the front page ad of all leading newspapers, ads given by 500 crore coaching factories, centers. Now, have we looked at the phenomenon that the day these results came, what is the tell and how failures are being constructed in this country? Every year, young possibilities, good possibilities, we are throwing them into dustbin. And we are saying that your G score is not sufficiently good, and we throw them into the dustbin. We are obsessed with that mythical success, and as a result, we are forgetting the way the system is destroying thousands and thousands of young possible. Now the quota suicide is so real. You and I cannot pretend that it does not exist. Only when it happens in our own home, our children, our nephews, nieces commit suicide, only then possibly we will realize that a society that has normalized the 500 crore, 3,000 crore UPSC coaching industry, or the millions of dollars for the quota industry, is an unhealthy society, is a sick society. And this sickness has to be regarded as sickness. And education ought to give us the courage, to diagnose it and to strive for a better society, a society for collective healing. Likewise, I am grateful to VG ma'am for printing another collection of articles on politics. That politics, in an emancipatory sense, in a positive sense, politics is about the art of possibilities, intervening into the discourse of power and then trying to create a more compassionate, better, egalitarian world that gives privacy to equity, justice and distribution, as Devenderji is talking about. And possibly it was this quest for the emancipatory politics, not the instrumental politics, just for winning the elections, for dividing people, for stimulating religious identities and causing violence, but a politics for humanizing the world, for creating an equal world, justice world. That politics was also a project, a dream, and in this world, many people thought about it. And just I'll mention two names, Martin Luther King Jr. and Gandhi. Now Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., Martin Luther King Jr. much later. Now in their politics, what we see? In their politics, we see that politics and certain kind of spiritual quest trying to march together. As a result, politics was not just a crude, instrumental, Machiavellian politics. Politics was about creating a just world, an egalitarian world, a peaceful world. Gandhi's decolonization spirit, Martin Luther King Jr.'s fight against racism, and the way, for example, they were giving us a possibility. I'll just end with the Buddhist monk, Vietnamese Buddhist monk, Thich Nhat Hanh, He wrote so many beautiful books. And when he was growing up young, American imperialism, the Vietnam War, all that taking place. And as a monk, one question began to haunt him. What is my religiosity? Should I concentrate primarily on my own nirvana, on my own emancipation from suffering? Or can I be free, emancipated, if the world outside me is full of pain, full of suffering, full of misery? Now, is it possible then to have my Buddhism engaged with the larger questions? And it is at that juncture Thich Nhat Hanh met Martin Luther King Jr., and then their quest for peace in the world, So, and he called it engaged religiosity. Likewise, there was an American black writer, many of you must have read Bell Hooks. She took that phrase from Thich Nhat Hanh, engaged religion, and she called it engaged pedagogy or engaged education. And this is where she would say classrooms have to be reconciled with the larger world. I cannot talk about peace mechanically in my classroom before 60 students if outside the classroom at that moment a communal riot is taking place, a violence is taking place. My task at that time is also to sensitize students so that we could, plant the seeds of peace and love and brotherhood, So it is not just I prepare my students for cracking the standardized test and for getting good grades in the exam. Engaged pedagogy means that you are trying to create citizens filled with awareness, filled with love, compassion, and the critical consciousness who try to create a better world, just world. And that is what engaged pedagogy is all about. Lot of young students are here. If some of you could later on translate it into Punjabi, it would be better. I will just give an illustration, give an example that, what is studentship? What is studentship? We are all students. We are all students all the time. Because studentship means constant curiosity, constant learning and unlearning and questioning and interrogating. Means the journey has not stopped. We are evolving. We are constantly learning, unlearning. So I'll give a simple illustration. And I just want Devendarji to translate it into Punjabi before this starts. This is one of my favorite illustrations. This is from a beautiful novel that Nobel laureate Hermann Hesse wrote, and the novel is Siddharth. Now, this novel, there is a place in that novel, and there is a film also made out of that novel. Shashi Kapoor acted as Siddharth. It's an English film, So, this novel that Siddharth is a wanderer. He's not contented with a fixed thing. His questions, he interrogates, asks deeper questions about life, about culture. So he's roaming around, wanderer, moving around. Then in a village, he met an old boatman, an old boatman with a lot of wisdom. And then there is a river, and the boatman takes the passengers from this side of the river to the another side of the river, And Siddharth one day asked the boatman, when you spare some time with me, I want to know the river. I want to understand the river. And the boatman was surprised. He said, for ages I am doing it. For most of the people, river is an obstacle to be overcome. They just want to cross the river, go to other side, maybe to a market, to a shop, to a bank. But nobody has ever told me that one is interested in knowing the river. What kind of a man you are? Now he insisted, he said, no, I just want to know from you about the river. And then the novel depicts, and he writes so beautifully. Even in English translation, it is so beautiful. He said that one night we sat near the river. Again, the second night we sat for hours. Third night, fourth night, fifth night. We were just sitting near the river and looking at the river, observing the river wholly, completely, with brain, heart, consciousness. Integrally, we are seeing the river, feeling the river. And then Armani says that one night the river actually began to speak. And river began to speak in many languages. And then that night we felt the river. We understood the river. And then the deeper philosophy of the river, the impermanence, continuity, flow, which have constantly bothered all great spiritual seekers and others began to come to his mind and consciousness. So I get this illustration that learn not from quota guidebooks only, learn from a tree, from a river, from an old man, from BGG, from everybody. Learn everywhere. There is treasure everywhere. And studentship is the activation of that curiosity. And today our system of education has killed it completely. Has destroyed it completely.
Yes.
So I urge students, to remain truly alive, not to allow themselves to be killed by all those coaching center gurus and all those guidebooks and the notebooks and this obsession, with with some select careers, to grow. That is my thinking. Yes.
No, you're not going.
Sorry. ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਸਟੋਰੀ ਦੱਸੀ ਹੈ, ਇਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅੰਡਰਸਟੈਂਡ ਕਰਨਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ। ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਝ ਆਏ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਰੇਜ਼ ਯੂਰ ਹੈਂਡ। ਓਕੇ, ਐਨੀਵੇ ਮੈਂ ਰਿਪੀਟ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ। स्टोरी है कि एक रिवर है, उससे एक बोटमैन है कि वो अपने पैसेंजर्स को एक किनारे तो दूसरे किनारे से लेके जाता है। ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਬੰਦਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਬੋਟਮੈਨ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਰਿਵਰ ਬਾਰੇ ਦੇ ਦੱਸ ਕੁਛ। ਤੇ ਉਹ ਬੰਦਾ ਬੜੇ ਧਿਆਨ ਨਾਲ ਦੇਖਦਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ, ਬੰਦਾ ਪਾਗਲ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਇੰਨੇ ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ, 15-20 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਧਰ ਉੱਧਰ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਕਿ ਰਿਵਰ ਕੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈ। ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ। ਤੇ ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਹਰ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਦਰਿਆ ਦੇ ਕੰਢੇ ਤੇ ਬੈਠ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਚੁੱਪ ਕਰਕੇ बैठ जाते हैं, फिर सुनते हैं और ऑब्जर्व करते हैं, बहुत कुछ सुनते हैं, बहुत कुछ ऑब्जर्व करते हैं। 3 दिन 4 दिन, फिर 5वें दिन वो रिवर बोलने लग जाता है, बोल के अपनी पूरी स्टोरी दसता है। इन्होंने कहने का भाव ये है कि ਆਪਾਂ ਕਿਤਾਬਾਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਰਿਵਰ ਕ੍ਰਾਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਿਤਾਬਾਂ ਪੜ੍ਹੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਪਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਕਰਨਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਰੁਕ ਕੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਫੀਲ ਕਰੀਏ ਔਰ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਕਰੀਏ ਤਾਂ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਝ ਸਿੱਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਹੈ। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ।
Just thank you for translating it. Now, I think just I'll end. I won't bore you. Just we are becoming so practical and instrumental these days. We have almost forgotten poetry. And if poetry is dead, we are dead. So I'll just recall that there's a great English poet, T.S. Eliot. A remarkable 20th century poet. So there's a line and that is very relevant to education. And poet says that where is the knowledge we have lost in information, and where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Now, just think of such profound, isn't it very profound? Where is the knowledge we have lost in information? MCQ-centric, OMR sheet, that has destroyed that, But when you look at a poem like this, it makes you think that there is something more, than getting 99.9% in IIT teaching. There is something more in life than this. And that is what T.S. Eliot is saying. Where is the knowledge we have lost in information, and where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? And so this is about, and just I end that education, as I said, that about what is happening here in Pilbara Trust, transforming the tales of pain and suffering into love and compassion, and into meaningful engagement with the life and the world. And education essentially ought to make us sensitive to that possibility. No matter what our professions are, we might be scientists, we might be doctors, we might be engineers, we might be lawyers, we might be professors, we might be farmers, but what kind of a life we like to lead? And education ought to give us some light into that. And that is what, as I say again and again, that religiosity, which is about, transforming pain into an act of love. And that is possible when we see the interconnectedness of things. And when we see beyond divisive, separate ideology and thinking. Now, I'll just end with this, that when Walt Whitman, a great poet, wrote that, to me, every inch of space is a miracle. This came out of profound wisdom, that everything is interconnected. It's like saying, you are, which Thich Khan says beautifully, you are the sun, you are the moon. Because you and I cannot imagine our existence and life without the sun, without the earth, without the moon. So, every particle is connected with every other particle. And it is this sense of connectedness, that today the most dominant, powerful ideology is destroying. And that ideology is the neoliberal gospel of mindless consumption and environmentally destructive techno-development. The dystopian possibility that he is enlightening us, that the food that we will eat, now it is a synthetic factory production, So, is it the dystopian world we are moving today? And if there is still time that we seek to resist this dystopian world, then you and I ought to think of education pretty seriously, the way our children grow up. And here, you and I, in our own ways, have to play some role. Otherwise, we'll give a dystopian world for the next generation. A world which is completely, a world without love, a world without creativity, and where we are all robotic performers. And it would be, another kind of film which Charlie Chaplin did at one time, that time, in modern times, but it will be now another kind of thing. Is it our destiny, or do we want to create another world? Another world, a world of love and compassion and equity and justice. And that's the question that all teachers in the classroom, all educationists have to ask, have to ask. So thank you ma'am, for giving me this opportunity to come to this temple, to this sacred place. And I learned a great deal. And thank you for this beautiful audience. Thank you very much.